forest was silent. Only the soft rustle of leaves whispered through the ancient trees, shadows stretching across the thick undergrowth. At the base of a massive, gnarled tree, something stirred. A long, golden python coiled lazily around the roots, its scales glinting like molten metal in the pale moonlight. The python hissed once, long, low, deliberate, and the air seemed to shiver. Its body twisted unnaturally, elongating and folding, bones bending in impossible angles. In moments, the scales melted into smooth skin, the head lifted into a sharp human jawline, and the creature standing where the snake had been was no longer a serpent. He was a man. Tall, elegant, impossibly polished. Every hair in place. Every crease of his dark suit perfect. His shoes shone like mirrors. His wristwatch sparkled under the moonlight, and in his right hand he carried a black suitcase, heavy and important. The man smiled at nothing, a slow, calm smile that carried secrets too deep for words. He did not look back at the tree, though the shadows seemed to watch him leave. At the edge of the forest, a sleek black Benz waited, its body reflecting the silver moonlight. The lights blinked once, almost as if the car recognized him. He opened the driver's door and slid inside, setting the suitcase on the passenger seat. The engine purred softly, a growl that seemed to promise both elegance and danger. The city awaited. Lagos, chaotic, alive, full of music, lights and danger. He did not hurry. He drove as if he belonged everywhere and nowhere. The forest behind him held its secrets tight, but the city ahead promised new ones. In that instant, the man's calm aura suggested something impossible, that he was not entirely human. The air around him seemed thicker, charged. The nightclub was already alive when he arrived. Blue and red lights flashed across the street, strobing off polished shoes and sparkling dresses. Music spilled into the night, a seductive mix of bass-heavy beats and high-pitched laughter. The crowd pressed against the velvet ropes, spilling out into the street, eager to glimpse the familiar faces of performers and influencers. When he stepped out, the crowd noticed. Immediately eyes turned. Not because he called attention to himself, he didn't, but because he radiated something the crowd couldn't name. Power. Danger. Wealth. Mystery. The kind of presence that made people stop even for a moment to watch without permission. The doorman hesitated, subtly checking his credentials, then stepped aside. Phones raised quietly. Whispers spread faster than the strobe lights. Who is that? Never seen him before. Look at the suit, the shoes, the watch. Maliki walked through the crowd with effortless confidence, the black suitcase swinging slightly in his hand. He did not nod, did not acknowledge anyone. People stared, caught in the gravity of his gaze. The coldness in his eyes hinted that he was untouchable, untethered, a predator in human form. Inside, the club was chaos incarnate. Dancers spun on elevated platforms, smoke machines churned the air into a moving haze, and the DJ controlled the frenzy from above. The bass rumbled like distant thunder. Yet Maliki moved untouched by it, untouched by the chaos, like someone who belonged everywhere and nowhere at once. He chose a table in the corner, a perfect vantage point. He placed the suitcase beside him with a soft thud, his movements deliberate, measured. The music hit harder as she stepped onto the stage, all eyes instantly drawn to her. Zena moved like she owned the room, bold, vibrant, confident. Her dress shimmered under the club lights, reflecting reds, blues and golds in every turn. Long hair bouncing, heels clicking, she danced with a precision that made every step seem effortless. She wanted escape from the small, ordinary life she'd always known. And in the nightclub, surrounded by music and money for a few hours, she could pretend she had it all. Her two friends, Tessa and Cammy, watched from a nearby table. Tessa cheered loudly every time Zena hit a perfect spin, clapping along with the crowd. Cammy smiled but leaned back slightly, watching Zena carefully, a subtle worry in her eyes that she didn't voice. That night, though, something shifted. Amid the flashing lights and shouting crowd, a pair of calm, measured eyes found her. Across the room, in the corner, a man sat quietly at a table, suitcase beside him. His gaze was direct, unwavering, handsome and cold. Zena felt it instantly, the pull of attention, not the crowd's attention but his. Something about him was different. Rich, yes. Handsome, definitely. But there was something more, something she couldn't name. She laughed, twirled and kept dancing. Maliki leaned back in his chair, calm, measured, eyes fixed on Zena as she danced. Slowly, deliberately, he reached for the black suitcase beside him. Fingers unfastened the latches with care, each click echoing faintly over the pounding bass of the club. For a moment, curiosity rippled through nearby tables. Some patrons leaned in, unsure what he was doing, drawn by the elegance in every movement. Then he opened it. A bright reflection caught the club lights and spilled across the dance floor. Bundles. Stacks. Rows upon rows of cash, thick and pristine, perfectly arranged like a treasure hoard. Gasps erupted instantly. Phones rose. Screams cut through the music. People pushed closer, wanting to glimpse record touch. "Is that real?" a woman whispered, jaw-dropping. "Where did he get all that money?" another murmured. "Who is he?" Malachi didn't answer. He didn't need to. The room answered for him. He picked up 2 thick bundles, his movements smooth and effortless, and rose from the chair. The DJ noticed immediately, leaning into the microphone with excitement. "Ladies and gentlemen," he shouted. "It seems we have a very big man in the house tonight." The crowd erupted, rushing to get a better view. Cheers, claps, whistles, the energy spiked, chaotic and electric. Zena froze mid-step for a heartbeat, then smiled wide and leaned into it. She raised her arms as Malachi began spraying the cash. Notes flew through the air, spinning and twirling like a storm of green leaves. Zena caught a few in her hands, letting them slide through her fingers, laughing and dancing harder. She twirled under the shower of money, letting it fall across her shoulders, her hair, her sparkling dress. The crowd screamed and laughed along with her. Phones flashed, capturing every moment. Zena's eyes sparkled. This was not just attention. This was power, luxury, excitement, all thrown at her feet, and she wanted it all. Malachi returned to his table, calm and composed, closing the suitcase halfway. The money still scattered around, but he sat down as if nothing had happened, his cold smile perfectly in place. Zena, however, could not hold herself back. She left the stage completely, weaving through the crowd, ignoring the phones, the cheers, the chaos. Her eyes never left him. Her pulse raced. Every beat of the music seemed to match the pounding of her heart. "Tessa." "Cammy," she called breathlessly as she approached the table. Her friends jumped to follow, Tessa clapping excitedly, Cammy wide-eyed and still slightly worried. They squeezed through the crowd together, laughter and gasps following them. Zena reached the table and practically fell into the chair across from Malachi. Her hands rested on the edge, trembling slightly, but her eyes were locked on his face. "I've never seen anything like this," she said, almost laughing, almost crying. Her voice was high with excitement. Malachi looked at her calmly, as if he had all the time in the world. "My name is Malachi," he said softly. Zena's friends hovered nearby, Tessa grinning and whispering, "Girl, you're in deep now," while Cammy's gaze lingered on Malachi with subtle unease. From the black suitcase beside him, Malachi pulled out a small velvet box. The lights of the club reflected off the diamond ring inside, making it sparkle like a piece of captured sunlight. Zena's hands shook as he opened it. Her breath caught. She glanced at the cash still visible in the suitcase and then back at him. "Zena," Malachi said, calm, deliberate, "will you marry me?" Her heart skipped. The music, the money, the crowd, the lights, it all felt unreal. Yet she could not resist. The thrill, the excitement, the danger, the wealth, it all pulled her in. "Yes," she blurted, almost leaping from her seat. Tessa whooped loudly. Cammy clapped hesitantly but smiled, still wary. The crowd around them erupted, some cheering, some filming, some stunned. Malachi nodded once, sliding the ring onto her finger with the same cold, precise grace he had shown in everything else that night. Zena stared at the diamond, then back at Malachi, then at the suitcase. She couldn't decide what dazzled her more, the man, the wealth, or the audacity. All she knew was that she was entirely recklessly caught in it. The DJ's microphone cut through the excitement. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is real love." Zena leaned back slightly, holding Malachi's hand across the table, laughing, trembling, unable to hide the thrill. Tessa jumped up and clapped. Cammy stayed close, smiling nervously, sensing both the danger and the spectacle. That night, Zena's world tilted. Nothing would ever be the same. The night outside the club had grown quieter, but the memory of Malachi's presence still electrified the air. Zena, her friends Tessa and Cammy trailing closely, ran after him as he moved toward the waiting black Benz. Her heart raced. Wait, Maliki. Don't go, she called, her voice trembling with excitement. She nearly reached the car door, but Maliki stopped and turned to her. His cold, precise smile never wavered. Relax, he said softly, voice calm as ever. Tomorrow. Same place. We will meet. Zena's hands tightened on her diamond ring, but she nodded, caught between desire and disbelief. She wanted to chase him, to stay in the magic of this night, but she obeyed. Some clubgoers had noticed her running after him. They watched in stunned silence as Maliki opened the car door, placed the black suitcase inside and stepped in. Their phones were raised, ready to capture every second, but they could not fully comprehend what they were seeing. With the same unhurried precision he had shown all night, Maliki started the engine. The soft growl echoed faintly in the quiet street. Lights blinked once, the reflection catching in the eyes of those still staring. Then he drove off, disappearing into the darkness, leaving a trail of astonished faces behind. The city lights faded, replaced by the thick ancient shadows of the forest. Maliki parked quietly at the edge of the trees. He stepped out, the black suitcase beside him. He touched the ground. A ripple ran through his body. Muscles twisted, limbs bent, skin shimmered and shifted. Within seconds, the handsome man dissolved into a long golden python, scales glinting faintly under the moonlight. The snake slithered toward the darkness of the forest, the suitcase moving with him as if bound to the otherworldly rhythm of his life. Deep under the giant tree something stirred. Roots shifted. Leaves trembled. The forest exhaled. Something old, massive and patient had awakened, aware that the golden python had returned. Meanwhile, Zena stood on the street, clutching her diamond ring, breathless. Her friends, Tessa and Cammy, were still processing the whirlwind of the night. People in the distance continued to watch the bends disappear, whispers and astonished gasps echoing in the air. Zena's life had changed. But the forest and the secrets Maliki carried were far from done. Zena's apartment was buzzing with excitement. The door slammed behind them and the night outside felt distant, almost unreal. The music of the club still echoed faintly in their minds, but inside the world belonged to Zena, Tessa and Cammy. Zena could hardly contain herself. She flopped onto the couch, clutching the diamond ring, its sparkle catching the overhead lights. Girls, look at this. Real diamond. And she threw her bag onto the table, bundles of cash spilling out like a waterfall. All of this. Can you believe it? Tessa jumped up, clapping her hands. Zena, you're living a dream. This is insane. Who does this? Zena laughed, twirling the ring on her finger. I know. I mean, me. Look at me. He just changed everything in one night. Cammy, however, stayed seated. Her eyes narrowed as she studied the money, the ring, and Zena's wide, ecstatic grin. Something in her gut twisted. Wait, Cammy said slowly, her voice cautious. Don't you find this strange? All of this, it feels dangerous. Zena froze for half a second, then laughed, brushing Cammy off. Dangerous? Come on, Cammy. Does he look like a bad person to you? Tessa snorted, rolling her eyes. Exactly. You're imagining things. Look at him. Calm, handsome, rich, he's perfect. And he's ours for tonight. Cammy shook her head, uneasy. I don't know, it's just too fast. The money, the ring, the way he just appeared and disappeared like that, it's not normal. Zena waved her off dramatically. Cammy, shut up. You're killing the mood. We're celebrating. Don't ruin it with paranoia. Enjoy the moment. Tessa chimed in, nudging her friend. Yeah, Cammy. Look around. We've got cash, a diamond ring, and Zena's basically royalty tonight. Stop overthinking. Cammy stayed quiet, biting her lip, still uneasy. She didn't trust her instincts fully, but she didn't want to be the only one bringing fear into the celebration. Meanwhile, Zena hugged the ring to her chest, spinning around the apartment with joy, laughing, counting the bundles, imagining the life that had just opened up for her. Pride and greed mixed freely with the thrill, and Cammy's unease was drowned out by the noise of happiness. But somewhere deep in the city, unseen and unnoticed, the shadows of the forest had not forgotten Maliki. And what Cammy sensed faintly in her bones, danger, something unnatural, was already beginning to reach toward Zena's life, patient, silent, and unstoppable. Zena stood before her mirror, fingers brushing the diamond ring again and again as if afraid it might disappear. Her heart raced with anticipation. The night before had changed her, and tonight promised even more. Tessa was buzzing with excitement. Cammy was quiet. The club exploded with sound and light as they entered. People whispered. Phones rose. Zena felt eyes on her. Recognition, envy, admiration. She smiled. She liked it. Then Malachi arrived. He didn't rush. He didn't announce himself. The room simply made space. The sharper suit caught the lights. The new suitcase rested easily in his hand. His presence was calm, polished, magnetic. Conversations dipped. Heads turned. Zena's breath caught. He opened his arms slightly and without thinking she stepped into him. The moment his hand hugged her, her body stiffened. He was cold. Not night air cold. Not chill drink cold. Dead cold. She laughed quickly, forcing it away. "Ah, you're cold, oh," she teased. "The night," Malachi replied smoothly, his cold smile never shifting. Tessa laughed loudly. "Rich people thing." Cammy didn't laugh. She watched the way his fingers rested too still. The way his touch lacked warmth. The way his eyes observed more than they reacted. They sat. More money appeared. More drinks. More attention. Zena leaned into the luxury, into the thrill, choosing not to question the chill every time his skin brushed hers. Cammy leaned in and whispered, "Zena, doesn't he feel strange to you?" Zena's smile tightened. "Not this again." "I'm serious," Cammy said. "He doesn't feel human." Malachi turned his gaze toward Cammy. Just for a second. No anger. No threat. Just awareness. Then he smiled politely. Cammy looked away. Zena squeezed Malachi's hand, ignoring the cold. She chose excitement over instinct. Wealth over warning. Desire over doubt. Far away, beneath the ancient tree, the forest shifted again. Something had noticed. Something was waking. Something has terribly gone wrong. The club was still roaring when Malachi stood up. He did not rush. He did not explain himself to the crowd that showed him attention only minutes earlier. He simply closed the black suitcase with a soft click and looked at Zena. "Let's go," he said. Zena didn't hesitate. She grabbed her bag and slipped her hand into his. Tessa followed immediately, eyes still shining with excitement. Cammy paused for half a second, glancing back at the dance floor, the lights, the noise, then she followed too. As they walked toward the exit, heads turned. Some people whispered. Some pointed. Some raised their phones again, hoping for one more miracle. "Nah, this guy again," someone shouted. "Big man." Outside, the night air was cooler. His black Benz waited by the curb, polished, quiet, patient. He opened the doors himself. Zena climbed into the front seat beside him, still laughing, still shaking with excitement. Tessa and Cammy entered the back, whispering rapidly to each other. The engine started with a smooth, controlled hum. As the car pulled away, people at the club entrance kept watching, some in disbelief, some in envy, until the Benz turned the corner and disappeared into the Lagos night. Inside the car, the city lights stretched and blurred past them. Zena kept touching her ring. Tessa kept talking. Cammy kept watching Malachi through the mirror. No radio played. No small talk came from him. Only the soft sound of the road beneath the tires. After a while, Zena leaned forward. "Where are we going?" she asked, smiling. "You'll see," Malachi replied calmly. The road changed. The noise thinned out. Street lights became fewer but brighter. The houses grew taller, quieter, more expensive. Tessa pressed her face to the window. This place is not for normal people." Cammy's chest tightened. Everything felt too planned, too smooth, as if the night had been written long before they entered the club. The car slowed. Then stopped. Zena gasped. Before them stood a beautiful duplex, glowing softly under its own lights. Clean walls. A tall gate. Flowers arranged with careful perfection. Malachi stepped out and opened Zena's door. "This house," he said, pointing gently. "I bought it." Zena turned to him, confused. "And it is in your name." Time broke. Zena screamed and rushed into his arms, laughing and crying at once. Tessa clapped wildly, shouting, "This is too much. This is too much." Cammy laughed too, shaking her head, overwhelmed by joy. "All this in one night?" she said. "Zena, you're blessed." Zena ran around the compound, touching the gate, the walls, the flowers, her happiness overflowing. She hugged Malachi again, holding him tight. "I love you," she said without thinking. "I really love you." Malachi held her gently, his expression calm, satisfied. The house stood quietly behind them. Perfect. Silent. Waiting. Morning came too quickly. Zena barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw money falling from the air, the diamond flashing under club lights, the house glowing quietly like a promise that refused to disappear. By daylight it was still real. Her phone buzzed. "Malachi. Good morning, Zena. I want to meet your family today." She sat upright in bed, heart racing. "Today?" She read the message again. Tessa squealed when she heard it. "Ah, this man is serious." "Oh." Cammy laughed, shaking her head. "Everything is moving fast. Zena didn't care. Fast felt good. Fast felt like escape. By afternoon Malachi arrived. Not in the Benz this time. 2 black cars followed behind him. Neighbors peeked through curtains. Children stopped playing. Whispers spread before the engines even went quiet. Zena stepped out to meet him, dressed carefully, proudly, like someone whose life had already changed. Malachi greeted her with a calm smile. "I hope I'm not too early," he said. "You're perfect," Zena replied quickly. When they entered her family house, silence fell. Her father stood up slowly. Her mother froze mid-step. Malachi bowed his head slightly in respect. "Good afternoon, sir." "Good afternoon, Ma." His voice was gentle, polished, confident. "I have come with sincere intentions," he continued. "I wish to marry your daughter." The room stopped breathing. Before anyone could ask a question, the suitcases opened. Money filled the room. Neatly stacked bundles, thick and clean, placed gently on the table like offerings. Another box followed. Jewelry. Gold. Expensive fabric. Zena's mother gasped loudly and held her chest. Her father swallowed hard. This is too much," he said weakly. Malachi smiled softly. "It is only the beginning." Questions died before they were born. Nobody asked where he came from. Nobody asked about his family. Nobody asked what business he did. Money answered everything. By evening, neighbors had gathered. Laughter filled the compound. Word spread fast. Zena is marrying a rich man. A very rich man. Her parents were glowing. Her mother already called her Madam. Cammy watched quietly from the corner, smiling like everyone else, caught in the wave of excitement. Logic didn't stand a chance. That night, when Malachi prepared to leave, Zena followed him to the gate. "You're not staying?" she asked playfully. "Tomorrow," he replied calmly. "There is still much to prepare." He touched her cheek gently, climbed into his car and drove away. Zena stood there smiling until the car disappeared. Far away, deep inside the forest, leaves trembled. The ancient tree waited. And the python has secured his prey. The wedding came faster than anyone expected. There was no long engagement. No waiting period. No time for doubts to grow roots. Everything moved like it had been pushed by an unseen hand. Money cleared the way. Tailors were paid immediately. Decorators worked day and night. Invitations went out late, but it didn't matter. People came anyway. When wealth speaks, curiosity listens. Zena became a different woman almost overnight. She walked with her head higher. She smiled more boldly. Everywhere she passed, people whispered her name with admiration. That's her. The one marrying the billionaire. Her parents glowed with pride. Her mother woke up early every morning just to pray and tell neighbors how God had remembered their family. Her father's laughter filled the compound in a way Zena had never heard before. The wedding day arrived bright and loud. Luxury cars lined the street like a parade. Music poured into the air. Expensive decorations covered every corner. Flowers, lights, fabrics that shimmered in the sun. Zena stepped out in her wedding gown, looking like a dream dressed in white. The dress hugged her perfectly, sparkling softly with every step. People gasped when they saw her. Malachi stood at the altar waiting. He wore white and gold, clean and flawless, his posture calm, his expression controlled. His cold smile never left his face. But there was something strange. On his side of the aisle, there was no one. No father. No mother. No siblings. No relatives. Only hired men. Friends nobody recognized. Silence where family should have been. People noticed. Whispers moved through the crowd like quiet smoke. Where is his family? How can a man like this come alone? Maybe they live abroad. The questions lingered for a moment. Then money spoke again. The food was too much. The music too loud. The gifts too generous. Laughter drowned curiosity. Zina noticed nothing. She was glowing. She was winning. She was marrying wealth itself. When Maliki slipped the ring onto her finger, she smiled so wide her cheeks hurt. When she said "I do," her voice didn't shake, not with fear, not with doubt. "I do," she said proudly. The crowd erupted. Cheers. Claps. Praise. Cameras flashed endlessly. Maliki leaned close and whispered softly, "You belong to me now." Zina laughed, thinking it was romance. The ceremony ended in celebration. Dancing. Drinking. Joy spilling everywhere. People ate until they were full and then ate again. The night felt endless. As Zina and Maliki drove away together, waving through the car window, nobody noticed the way the lights flickered briefly as they passed. Deep in the forest, beneath the ancient tree, the earth shifted. Marriage did not tame Maliki. Every night, when the house fell silent and Zina drifted into sleep, he slipped away. Not in haste. Not in secrecy born of fear. But with the calm certainty of something returning home. Zina noticed the pattern after the first few nights. She would wake before dawn to an empty bed, the sheets beside her cold and untouched. His suitcase always gone. His side of the wardrobe, undisturbed as if he had never lived there at all. By morning he returned. Always before sunrise. Always perfectly composed. "Ghana," he would say, adjusting his tie. "Urgent business. Just for the night." He never smelled of travel. Never showed fatigue. Never carried the weight of long flights or sleepless meetings. His suits only grew sharper. His presence only more polished. Zina never questioned it. Why would she? He provided everything. Love, luxury, security. A life most could only dream of. But every night, Maliki did not go to Ghana. He did not go to meetings. He did not board planes. He went back to the forest. Far beyond the city lights, beyond concrete and noise, beyond the illusion of Lagos wealth, the ancient trees waited. The same forest. The same giant tree. There, beneath moonlight and roots older than memory, Maliki shed his human form like clothing. Skin peeled away smoothly. Bones shifted without pain. Limbs lengthened, merged, vanished. Golden scales emerged. A massive python uncoiled itself from the shadow of the man. The forest welcomed him. Leaves trembled. The ground softened. Creatures went silent in reverence. This was where he belonged. By dawn, he returned to the city again, human once more, immaculate, smiling, slipping back into bed beside Zina as if nothing had happened. And she slept peacefully beside him. Unaware that every night, her husband returned to what he truly was. It happened on a quiet, ordinary night. Zina stepped into the bathroom, towel wrapped around her, steam curling around her face. She reached for the mirror to wipe the fog, humming softly. But when the glass cleared, her breath caught. Behind her, where Maliki should have stood normally, something was wrong. A golden curve, thick and scaled, stretched from where his legs should have been. A massive tail, glinting under the bathroom light, alive, moving slowly like it was aware. Zina froze. Her heart slammed in her chest. Her hands shook violently. "No, this can't be real," she whispered. She blinked once. Twice. Zina's heart raced. She had just seen it, the golden tail glinting under the bathroom light. Her hand still trembled as she dropped the mirror on the counter. She slowly turned and Maliki stood there. Fully human. Perfectly dressed. Calm. Smiling. "Is everything okay?" he asked softly, the same gentle voice she had fallen in love with. Zina's legs felt weak. Her breath came fast. I saw something," she stammered. "Something behind me." Maliki's calm smile faded for the first time. His eyes sharpened. He didn't answer immediately. Then, without a word, he stepped out of the bathroom, closing the door behind him. And then he was gone. Not by walking away, not by hiding. He simply vanished. Zina pressed herself against the bathroom wall, shaking. Her mind raced. Her heart thumped. Every rational thought fled. She tried to call him. No answer. Minutes stretched like hours. The house felt impossibly quiet, too quiet. Every creak of the floor sounded amplified. Her hands clutched her chest. By the time morning came, Maliki returned as if nothing had happened. His suit was immaculate, his smile perfectly calm. "Good morning, my love," he said, touching her cheek gently. Zina wanted to ask what happened, but fear and disbelief kept her silent. She forced a smile. He knew she had seen. And now he carried that knowledge, quiet and deliberate, in his eyes. That evening Maliki spoke again, his voice soft but commanding. "We're going somewhere tonight," he said, smiling. Zina's pulse quickened. "Where?" "You'll see," he replied with the same calm certainty that made it impossible to refuse. They left the house together, Zina clinging to her excitement and curiosity. The city lights faded behind them as Maliki drove silently, his expression unreadable. The road grew quieter. The streets cleaner, calmer. Somewhere deep in her chest, a sense of unease stirred, but it was mixed with thrill. Maliki finally stopped. He turned to her, smiling faintly. "Trust me. Tonight everything changes." Zina nodded, feeling both fear and anticipation. Far away in the forest, the giant tree trembled slightly, its roots shifting as if responding to his presence. Something ancient, something massive stirred beneath the earth. Zina did not see it. She did not feel it yet. But the forest knew. And it was waking. She followed Maliki into the unknown, unaware that the night ahead would test everything she believed about love, wealth, and the man she married. The shadows thickened. The wind whispered. And somewhere, hidden in darkness, something connected to Maliki was moving, waiting, watching. What do you think will happen to Zina? She's reckless, marrying someone she barely knows just because of money. And her parents are even worse, practically selling their daughter for wealth. Who is Maliki really and what is he after? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next part of this story.